You were mentioning about testifying, the law professors, and what a neat education is that. Does it worry you as somebody that teaches young minds out there, though, when we hear things like, what they're going to say about those professors, that's fake news. Those guys are fake. Right. Does it worry you that we are becoming numb to everything, that we're kind of going, that's not real, that's not fake, Does that concern you at all?
It does. It would be much better if people sought different sources of news and different sources of opinion that they might otherwise have. I mean, one thing that I try to do, and I'm in no way perfect about this.
Oh, you are perfect, Mark.
I feel as though I am on a team, and I mostly follow the team, though I do grumble about it sometimes. I do try in my Twitter feed, because most of the news that I get these days, it doesn't derive from Twitter, but Twitter kind of sets an agenda.
It does.
And I will click on links from Twitter based upon who it is who's sending it out. But I try to follow people whose politics I don't necessarily agree with. Not that many, but people who I trust, who I feel as though might be part of a different team, but in following that different team have a similar orientation to their team as I do to mine, which is that, sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, and I'm willing to disagree with them on certain things, just to check myself, just to say, I think on this issue, this is the right way to go. But because it just seems like it's the right way to go. But someone is going to tell me something that is counterintuitive to me, that is like, well, I should read about that and figure out for myself whether in fact that is true or not.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's so funny, because I'm the same way. I do not mind an opposing opinion or opinion that is different. I'll get in my car, I'll listen to Rush Limbaugh. There's many things I agree with him on. And then there's a bunch of things I go, that's not quite right. Same thing with the networks, from Fox News to CNN. I'll turn on shows, I go, they're right on this. They're completely right. And then I'll switch over and go, they're right, but they're wrong on this. It doesn't personally affect me. No. I kind of look at it as, let's just solve the problem so we can all move on and get on with our lives. But people don't want to seem to do that.
No, and sometimes it's hard to figure out what the problem is, right? I mean, it's one thing to say, let's solve the problem, but sometimes the disputes are over whether there is a problem at all. Global warming being a good example of that.
Right.
5-10 years ago, there was a real dispute, particularly on the right, as to whether global warming was occurring. And I think that dispute has mostly gone away now over time. And so now the argument that I think is the much more interesting one and important one to have, which is that, okay, this seems to be the case, so what do we do about it? And now there are lots of disputes over that, and that seems totally right. And I'm very interested in hearing lots of different opinions about that. But the opinion that global warming isn't happening seems at present to be a crank opinion.
Yeah, well, it is. I worked in the weather business for over 20 years, so I have a real strong opinion about this. And there are very few opinions that dispute that global warming is not happening. So when people say, oh, there's many on the other side, no, there's not. So stop that. And the way to look at the whole global warming issue is just to look at it this way. Less crap in the air and in the oceans and in the ground is better than more crap and goop and stuff in the air.
Right.
Just common sense would tell you spewing all that into the air can't be good for you. No. And by the way, if you want to know if it's good for you, you want to do a test, when you get home, turn your car on, shut the garage, and see how long you last. Okay? And that'll tell you. Yeah, it's it works every time. And you will be dead. So take it on a bigger scale. Yeah, it's probably not good for us to be breathing all this, and it's probably not good for the environment. So what do we do about it?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
we solve that.
No more Roach on Florida TV.